Okay, so thank you all for joining. Today I wanted to talk about a little bit of DBT and PostgreSQL and why we can use it to transform data and to model a little bit before trying other tools or other topics. So what we want to do today is to have a data source on PostgreSQL, then use the DBT to load all the data to create a medallion structure with 3 different stages. So we will have the staging phase on what we will do is to get the data and to try to normalize it a little bit. Then we will have another layer that will be the intermediate layer. On that layer, we will have additional transformations, and we will try to test that all the data is what we want. And until then, the data will not be ready for production. On the last phase, on the gold medallion cave, we will have dimensions and facts tables, and there will be where we can actually start analyzing the data and to use it as a data analyst, for example. And then, therefore, all the DBT transformation will be done on DBT, and we will have then the data on the database again to access it. What is DBT? So DBT is a platform to transform data, and we have the workflow to do it is that you can use it as data orchestration tool, as data quality or data catalog. What I did with DBT was to, okay, I want to transform all this data that I have on a database, because this data from a platform, from a website, whatever the data set is. And I say, okay, how can I test that all the data is accurate? How can I run a pipeline so I have a model that I can present to a data analysis team, or that the business can use it differently? And also, how can I make sure that all the transformations and all the pipelines that the data will have can be reused, can be explained, and can have a documentation. That's the powerful of the DBT is that you can use it to create your own documentation. You can use it also as an engine, so all the queries will be run using DBT and using the data source that you are using or the database that you are using. You can also use macros. You can use packages that will increase your speed on DBT. More on the good sides is that you can use a compiler and use Jinja, for example, so you can have queries not using just the SQL, so they are more impactful. And to me, the other thing that was helpful, as I already said, is that you can test all your models and to make sure that the data is working as expected. Going back a little bit of the model that I wanted to do is I have a database with orders. It's the standard database for Snowflake, but I have generated my own data using the same model. And on the end, I want a fact orders that will be all the orders that I have on the database. This is not important. On the example, what I wanted to do is how to connect all these different tools and how easier or harder it was to do that kind of connections. And as I said, what we will have is documentation done automatically by DBT. We will have a data linkage, and we will be able to standardize or do an agile development with all Git capabilities that DBT has implemented. Going a little bit of the documentation that I have generated with DBT is I started on the database just having let me share my database a little bit. What I have, this is Postgres with PKG admin 4. What I have on the beginning was the database with all nation, orders, part sub, region, supplier, all the different tables that comes from the script. With the DBT, I have created TPC data. We can load this data to a database, or actually working with whatever data that you have. And to me, what this was important was like, okay, once I have the data on my actual database, how I can connect it to DBT. So we go to Visual Studio. We can create a DBT demo with a DBT init. The commands can be shown later on if you want. And what you need to do is to say, first of all, which package do you want? In my case, I'm using DBT utils to have some macros, and you configure the DBT project. There you only need what packages are you want to see, are you want to use, and if your models will be materialized or not. And there you go. That will be like the configuration of what DBT will do with the data once it finishes. What else? What else? Profiles. Yeah, on profiles you configure all the database access or Snowflake, Postgres in my case, with the actual database. In this case, this only a demo, so it's not important to see how I did it. It's only on localhost, so nothing is published, and the data it's available. Then we start working with the capes, with the medallion capes. On staging, what I'm doing is to standardize all the data that I have on the database. So I'm just saying, this is the database that I'm using. This is the table on the database that I'm using. So I have this kind of references. So if the database changes or the model updates, I only need to change a little bit the name of the database or the table itself. It's a little bit of quicker. I'm making conventions so all the names remain the same. I do that for everything. For example, on this case, it's a little bit different because I have to generate subrogate case. So I know which is the order key or which is the line number. So I have more information, but in the end, it's always the same. I have the database that I'm using and the table that I'm getting the date from the actual database on Postgres to how DBT will start using my data. All the data is the same. Then on DBT sources, this is a YAML file on which I can say to DBT, okay, this is my kind of data. I want to know which is the primary keys, what want to test, for example, on orders. I know that the primary key is order key. So I want to test that all the primary keys are unique, nothing is not null. So automatically DBT will do it for me. I don't need to do anything else, or I don't need to put a select distinct or things like that on SQL. It's like that. For example, as I say, on line items, I had a relationship with order keys. So I can say, okay, this is come from order keys and explain this kind of relationship. So my model will know that, and on the linkage on the end, it will be shown that this table comes before this other one. So if you want to test it or to make sure what happens if I delete this table, you will have the linkage and the relationship that will tell you not to do so or yes to do so. That's a little bit of the difference between doing it on Postgres directly or working with DBT that has this kind of documentation and more flexibility. Then we go to the intermediate layer. Here, what I'm doing is I'm loading all the data from the previous staging area. So my reference now is my own DBT. So I am not referring to the database. So I'm just working with this kind of references. And I can do whatever transformation I need, whatever order by or group by. What I'm doing here is to get all the items on an aggregate function. I can do more transformations, and I'm even creating a dimension table with only dates because I believe that it's a little bit faster or easier to then create analysis by weeks, by months, by years, or whatever date I want. So what I did here is to generate a little bit of dates and to create a table that was not existing on the actual database before. So this is a new table that was not from PostgreSQL. So this is a dimension that has been created entirely in DBT. Also, I have a dimension of customers that will join different tables and will create the actual final one with all the information that I want. And in the end, I will have the fact of what is an order, how can I get the information, and that's what we will have. On the schema part, you can make a description of every table that you have, every customer, every name, and this will be added on the documentation automatically. I did those with ChatGPT just faster, just to have something there. And things important. We can create macros. For example, a macro is something that can be rerun. more or less like a programmer with a programming objects function, for example, that you can reuse a part of the code. This is the same. You can create a part of the code and you can reuse it whatever you want. In my case, just to make sure that the discounted amount was not exceeding the actual price. Then we go to test. For example, for orders, I want to know that in one order it's between some dates. So I can create this kind of queries that will make, okay, if something is returned, that means that the test has been failed or not, depending how you write it. And on discount, it's the same. I want to make sure that the discount is still making like prices. What you can do here is just create actual documentation or making like DBT run or DBT whatever. Going to the actual files that DBT provides, we get this kind of documentation. This is done automatically. And what we have is the same, all the dimensions, what are the attributes, how are they done, from which model it's referenced, what depends on. So to me, it's easier to say, okay, what happens if I want to change the region? So we will know that this table will be impacted. What happens with the fact tables, that it's like the most important on a star schema. And we will see the same, all the information. Like we have all the columns, types, description. This is what I did with ChatGPT. So we had something here. And the generic test, again, this is unique, not null, a foreign key. So that's super powerful for me with DBT, because usually when you are working with a database SQL, you have all the tables, you know more or less how they are connected. If you have an actual schema, another part of the documentation of if the team is working with that, so you can use it, but with DBT this is automatically done. And a graph lineage that will show the actual, this is my table with orders. This is come from all the dimensions that I have. This is also coming from the actual table. So we know that if you change something on the green side, you are impacting on the database. All the other things are views. And then on the end, you have a table generated with your actual facts, and then the both testings to make sure that the table is working completely fine. Going back to our database, we find that the order tables is here, and all the transformation has been run properly, and we have the data there, and we could be starting working with this data, or just to create some queries or some views and going to Tableau, going to Power BI, or going to any analyzing tool to just find more insights there, or to create an actual reporting. But all the pipeline will be run by DBT, and we only need to make sure that the DBT is done. It's running periodically. To do so, we can use Airflow or any other tools, or with actual scheduler or things like that. So more or less what I wanted to say is like, okay, we can create a documentation for all our transformations, for our tables, or the attributes that we have. We have some actual testing capabilities. We are standardizing all the references on the database, so our queries are cleaner, are a little bit faster to read and to maintain. And then we can have more testing automatically done, or just develop using Git. Because if I go back to my Visual Studio Code, this is just a project, so I can go to create a new branch, change some dimensions, add some testing, merge that branch, and things like that. So it's to me, this was a good demo. I believe that it's super powerful, not just with working with big data sets, but with smaller ones that can be done as well. So if you have any doubts, any things that I can show you, just let me know and we can proceed with that. Let me open this again. So thank you for all your time, and time to ask some questions if you have something or any doubts, whatever you want.
Maybe you can show the target folder. Can be interesting to see where the pure SQL results are stored.
Yes. So on the DBT demo, what you are creating is just macros folders, and the dataset is here. Anything in particular?
Yeah, and compiled, we can see all models and tests in pure SQL if we want to debug what's generating in the end.
Okay, that's something that I knew that all my documents were generating here, but I didn't know that on the schema I had more information so I can be able to debug it. Many thanks for that insight. Also, as I know that you are more experienced than as I am, something that you can add as well, because on this case of demos, I just wanted to test that the connection was working and that I can do some transformations and some modeling without needing any licenses or without needing to buy anything else or to go to cloud. So I have everything locally. I can work with a small data set to test the capabilities. Anything that you think that it's also use cases or that can be done with demos or things like that, please go ahead, Aaron.
Well, just
Hmm.
maybe details, no, about linting the files. We can use some linting for SQL and the YAMLs in the project. Yeah, when working many people, it's interesting to keep some style, no? Common style, and check before a commit. What about DBT? There is a cloud version, no, with license, but I didn't test it. That is supposed to make your life easier and more integrated everything. But yes, the DBT core we can use it locally without any license and any issue.
Yes, with the other version of DBT, what I tested because you had like 1 week to play around, and I wanted to make sure that that's more or less the application that I wanted before to get on the configurations and things like that. And what I found out is that was super easy to configure, and I use it with a demo for Snowflake. So that was already on the cloud, so I didn't need to install anything. What I just need to say to DBT was to create the connection with Snowflake. That was done on the Snowflake webpage, so nothing was needed to do it. For example, I showed before that I need to make a profile with the application and to say what is my port, which is my password, and things like that. With the cloud version, you don't need to do that. It can be managed automatically by Snowflake, for example, or by Databricks.
Right.
And also, if you need more power or you need more threads or more information, the cloud version will be faster to escalate for sure.
One question. I didn't get how to interact with DBT. So what is, because we saw how DBT interacts with a database or other data source, but how do you get this model, this schema or the data from DBT? Is like a regular database, or does it have any additional layers?
DBT runs as a layer inside your database.
Okay.
So the data doesn't live, in my case, Postgres in any moment. What it does, DBT, is to create the queries on a different, like, not platform, but on Visual Studio, on a different environment. And on you write like DBT run or DBT build. What this will do is to create all the SQL files, to add them to the database, and then to run all the queries on parallel, not on parallel, on serie on your actual database. So
Okay.
if you, for example, you have a script with orders, SQL, whatever, and you put on the final dot and comma to finalize the SQL script, that's something that we normally do. As DBT, what we'll do is to run all the files per order or just the file that you wanted. If you put like the type kind of finalizer, it will stop the execution because you are not running the files independently. You are running the files on your actual database.
Mm-hmm.
If you want, I can do a run on my DBT, but it will take a little bit, and then it will say all the files has been run properly or not, depending if it fails or not, and you will have like an outcome with messages.
Okay.
So let me share again then. I had it like here. Okay, as you can see with the run, what DBT is doing is to running all the different SQL scripts by order, starting with the first one and then going one by one. It's not that it's you need to do like the actual execute the script, and with the build it's the same. What the build will do is to create all your SQL files to actually update them on your database. That's the reason that I have more files that I had on my actual model, because I have like 13. They are running differently. So this is the difference. As Aaron was saying, on target, you will have all the files. Those are the files that will be run on the Postgres. And here on the Visual Studio, nothing is actually running. What the DBT build or DBT run will do is going to your actual database and run the queries.
And just point that DBT cannot update your source tables, the existing data. You add like something extra on the top, like views or materialized views. You cannot do an update, an existing table, the source, Postgres.
Use with integrated tests on them, right? It's something like that. Or does it have any additional? I mean, apart from that, what is the added value of DBT?
To me, the added values are three different things. One, you will have all the data linkage, so you can see the model there, and you don't need to create a file with all your modeled data. Because if you have so many data or a big warehouse, that can be super time consuming. The other thing is that you can see if you change one document with a DBT build, run, or DBT test, you will see if something has been changed or if you have some issues or not. So development is a little bit faster there, because you will know exactly which field file is doing you that issue or that error, and it's easier to debug. And the third part is that you can collaborate with other people. Usually, if you are working on a database or with a team and you don't know which one has been changing something, that can lead to issues or to mistakes. And with DBT and all the branching or all the GitHub that has included, that makes it easier to use. If you want to add something, Aaron, for example, just go ahead, please, that you have more experience than I have.
Well, it can manage the dependencies and make the project more modular, more organized. You can see in which point it fails, and the dependents cannot run until that is fixed. It's like organized.
Okay, so to me that was more or less what I wanted to show. So how to use Postgres with the DBT and what DBT can do to increase or to speed up a little bit the development of a data analysis database. So anything else, please just let me know. I hope that you find that interesting. and thank you for your time.
Thank you very much.
Thank
It
you,
was
Marc.
really interesting, Marc.
Many thanks.
Yeah, really good explanation. Thank you, Marc.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.